Says the gemorah. When the rabbis left the house of Reb Chaim, and some say this was when they left the house of Reb Chaim. Everything's in machlokes, obviously. They said this. He said to them, Alufeinu Musubalim. The pasuk says Alufeinu Musubalim. It's a pasuk. Some people sing it on Motzi Shabbos. Alufeinu Musubalim. Anyway, so what does it mean Alufeinu Musubalim? Alufeinu literally means our leaders. Musubalim, they saved them, they suffer. Alufeinu Musubalim Rav Shmuel. Varbila Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. There's a machlokes. Some say it was between Rav and Shmuel. Some say it was between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Chadama Alufeinu B'Torah. Our great ones in Torah, our masters in Torah, Musubalim b'mitzvahs. And Musubalim is they do mitzvahs. They're entrenched, they work hard doing mitzvahs. Chadama Alufeinu B'Torah b'mitzvahs. They are leaders in Torah and mitzvahs of Musubalim b'Yisurim. And they suffer with Yisurim, with the vicissitudes of life. Yizamar Oveis, last Talmud in the parak. Ein Peretz. The rest of the passage is Ein Peretz. What does it mean? Ein Peretz means Shaloi tehei siyatenu kesiyata shel David shiotzim en Achitophel. You shouldn't be like David. David had a son called Achitophel. Ein Peretz. I guess because Peretz is Lashon Paratzi, that the Melech is Peretz Geder. And the kingdom comes from Peretz. Like you had two sons. Peretz was one of his sons, and the Malchus Beis David calls him Peretz. So Ein Peretz. Don't be like David. David. Hashem's help shouldn't be like with David that Achitophel came from him. Ve'in says, what does it mean? Ve'in says in the pasuk. And it shouldn't be like Shaul. You shouldn't be like David, and you shouldn't be like Shaul either. Shaul had a nasty ending. Sheyatz menu Doiga Doimi came from him. Vein Svacha. What's Vein Svacha? There's no screaming. Shaleti Asatenu Kasiyata Shel Elisha. Your assistant shouldn't be like the assistants of Elisha. Sheyatz menu Gechazi. Because what happened with Elisha? Gechazi came from him. Gechazi was the story of the Gechazi. I think we saw it already here once. That he was a little bit too excited. Bircha v'seinu. What does it mean? Because of bircha v'seinu. Ben tzavacha bircha v'seinu. Bircha v'seinu. Shelo yelanu ben. We shouldn't have a son, a Talmud or a student. Shemakdiach tavshilei burabim. That burns his cooking in public. So what does this mean? That burns his cooking in public. First of all, what does it mean? Bircha v'seinu. How did you get that from Bircha v'seinu? What's the kasher? So the Marsha says, don't read the Bircha v'seinu el bar. Bar is Aramaic for son. Chay v'seinu. Our son is a disgrace. So who's this Bircha v'seinu? Shalei ben el tamid shemakdech tavshila barab. In the sense it took out, apparently it used to say, Yemach Shemai v'zichrei. Al-Noitzri. That's what he used to say over here. It shouldn't be like him, that he was busy trying to take Klal Yisrael away from Torah and Yiddishkeit. He stood in the streets and making up nonsense. That's what it's talking about. Yeah, that person, that one person who caused so much aggravation. Says the gemorah. One says, the entire world is sustained. The food we get is charity. Others say, but they are sustained bizraya, with the might of their hand. Meaning, everyone in the world needs charity to get food. Hashem, how do you get food? Hashem gives you chesed, you don't deserve it. Hashem pours it down on you. But these people, the tzaddikim, the zeichet, the entire world is sustained b'zchus these people. They don't even get to sustain themselves. What does that mean? Because Rav Yehuda Amarav, similarly to what Rav Yehuda Amarav said, the Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav, every day, like nevuah, whatever it is, type of nevuah came down from heaven and said, Vaymeres, Chayrev is, by the way, Har Sinai. Chayrev is another word for Har Sinai. Every day a voice is heard, the echo, technically it means an echo. It's heard in Har Sinai. It says, the entire world is being fed because of my son Chanina. Chanina ben Daisa, the holy Amora, the entire world is given food because of him. For Chanina beni daila b'kav churuvin. But my son Chanina, Erev Shabbos, once a week he has a handful of churuvin, carobs. That's all he needs to eat. So the entire world is given food just for him, but he only needs a handful of carobs. So some say, why didn't he eat more? He didn't want more. Others want to bring a raya from here. The Rambam specifically brings a raya from here. Maimonides says, you see from here that you're not allowed, Talmud Chacham shouldn't take money from the tzibur. You shouldn't be sustained in Kailo. You shouldn't take money. Otherwise, why didn't Chanina take more money from people? That's all he had to live off. Why didn't he take charity? I'm sure people would have been happy to give him. No, he didn't want it. Maybe it was a midas tzidkus of his. He didn't want it. It was a darga. He didn't want to take money from other people. But Talmud Chacham was allowed to. You're allowed to take money if you want to support you in Kailo, so it's you do it. There was a big machlekes, Sfadim, Ashkenazim. The Sfadim went with the Rambam that's also to take money to study Torah. Rambam says it's Chil Hashem. It's a terrible affair to take money to learn Torah. The Ashkenazim will say it's 100% fine. In fact, some good Torah say that's the greatest lechatchila there is, to be sustained in Kailo. That's the greatest thing. Yeah, exactly. So, and you do it. There's a lot more Ashkenazi G'dayim, Sfadi G'dayim, according to, I heard it said by some people. And nowadays, the Sfadim, Ashkenazim, everyone sits in Kailo and learns, they're all happy to do it because it's impossible otherwise. The living costs are so high. It wasn't like it used to be that you could, get by with a kaf churba. Now you got to pay electricity, water. It doesn't work like that. Says the Gemara. Upligid Rabbi Yehuda, and they're arguing on Rav Yehuda. Domar Rav Yehuda says, Man abirei leiv. Who is this abirei leiv? It says in the pasuk, abirei leiv, goivai tipshoi. So goivai tipshoi literally means, according to Rashi, it's people that lived in Iraq, these foolish Iraqis. But the pasuk says abirei leiv, calls them strong hearts, meaning like a heart of stone. Says the Gemara, not one person from Iraq was ever Megayah, or this place in Iraq called Goivai. They were never Megayah. Chiddush, how could they never Megayah? How could it be?
So
okay.
What's the downside of that?
You see that not one person was ever Megayah. It means not one person. They saw the Talmud Chacham in Bavel. They saw the Torah there. And then and it didn't have any effect on them. Not one person was ever interested in Judaism, Yiddishkeit, monotheism. They're just a bunch of idol worshippers. Not one person ever thought, "Wow, this monotheistic stuff is good." Omer of Ashi, b'nei Mata Machsia, this town called Masa Machsia, were Abirei Leiv Ninhu. They were also strong-hearted. The Kochoza Yikra the Rice that Trei Zimni B'Shasa. There's no chiyas to be Megayah. There's no reason for a goy. It's not like a mitzvah for a goy to be Megayah. Maybe it is a mitzvah for him to become a Jirano, but there's no chiyah. He could remain a good Gentile. There's nothing wrong with it. He could be zeichet at very high levels. But the fact that not one person did it in this town called Masa Machsia, and Rashi says, because twice a year, all the Chum came to the town in Elul before Yom Noraim and before Pesach to learn Hilchas Pesach, Hilchas Achag. Twice a year they all came. All the Chachamim, and not one person in the town was ever Megayah. It's a kasha. It's maybe one of the first times you see the Gemara is taking a statistic. It's very significant. It's saying, you know what? If one guy's not Megayah, fine, he's not Megayah, but no one person. So the Gemara is like taking an average and saying it means that there's a hardening of a heart over there. It's something going on. So it says in Gemara, Amar of Ashi, we just saw that. Chosan. The guy gets married. Poor guy. In writes a likras. If he wants to recreate Shema Kaira, it says. So it says in Gemara, L'meimer de Shimon ben Gamliel chaysh liyahaira, v'Rabbana lo chaysh liyahaira. So Rabbi Gamliel says a chassan can't say Kriya Shema. You just got married, first night, you got other things on your mind. First time he's with a woman, he's busy, he's tired, he's perplexed, right? He doesn't have to say Kriya Shema. Rabbi Chacham says, if he wants to, he can say Kriya Shema. So does that mean that Rabbi Gamliel, they are chayshish v'yahira, they don't want a person to do something that looks like, I'm better than everyone. I'm elevated, I'm yahira. What does literally say yahira mean? Yahira. I guess elevated. V'rabban l'chaysh l'yahira. Gaiva. It literally means gaiva. So the Rabbanan are chayshish v'gaiva. What? Haughtiness. There you go. So the Rabbanan, they're not chayshish v'yahira. They don't care if someone acts a little bit haughty. Therefore, if you want to say Kriya Shema, you can say Kriya Shema. So ask the gemorah, what do you mean? We are exactly the opposite. There's different minhagim about whether on the Tisha B'Av, fast day, Saturday day in Klal Yisrael, are you allowed to work? So,
are you allowed to what?
Are you allowed to work on Tisha B'Av? So, if it's a town where people work on Tisha B'Av, you can work on Tisha B'Av. If you're in a place where people don't work on Tisha B'Av, you don't have to work on Tisha B'Av. But in both places, in all places, the rabbis, the Talmid Chachamim, they don't work. I hear you were asking, what, the rabbis work? What does that mean? I guess so. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, every single person can make himself lagabe this din into Talmud Chacham. He can say, as far as working on Tisha B'Av, I'm not a Talmud Chacham, I'm not going to work on Tisha B'Av. And that's not called Yaira. That's not called haughtiness. But in our Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel says, don't say Kriya Shema, Gaiva, haughtiness. But here Rabbi Gamliel says, you can act like a Talmud Chacham and don't say Kriya, you can not work on Tisha B'Av. So what did Rabbi Gamliel say? Was Rabbi Gamliel chayshish for haughtiness or not? Kasha Rabbanan, Kasha Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So you got Kasha Rabbanan, you got a Kasha Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So Amr Rav Yechanan says, Muchlefes Hashita, switch the opinions, and obviously it's a big machlokes. Which opinion do you switch? Are we switching the opinion in our Mishnah, or do we switch the opinion by Tisha B'Av? But one of them we got it wrong. Otherwise, they're both contradicting each other.
There has to be a starting point. What started the minute of working on it? If the halacha is you can't work on Tisha B'Av.
It's not. So it's definitely not halacha. Good point. It's definitely not halacha. You can't work on Tisha B'Av. You're allowed to work on Tisha B'Av, but there's a minhag not to work on Tisha B'Av in some places. I think halacha l'mais it says that ain't no esim bracha. There's no bracha if you work on Tisha B'Av. So maybe it became a thing. If there's no bracha, so why are you working? Didn't have a coffee this morning, so this is.
But maybe it's
just right.
Like one of these things where it was referring to someone who worked in an unnecessary job.
That you for sure can do. Says the gemorah. So, Rav Shisha, nice name, Bereda Rav, Bereda Davidi, sorry. You don't have to go ahead and switch the shitas. Don't go ahead and change what everyone says. I've got a much easier answer. There's no stira Rabbanan. Why? Since the whole world is saying Kriya Shema, and he's also saying Kriya Shema, it doesn't look like he's trying to be haughty. He's saying Kriya Shema like everyone else. That's not such a gaiva. A gaiva is when you do something no one else is doing. That's gaiva. That's kishmak. Everyone else is, whatever. There's so many things people do annoy me. Everyone else is doing one thing, and you decide I'm going to do something completely different. Everyone else is big. People have a silver one. Whatever. It's like, you make your sitters 10 times longer than everyone else. It's for sure gaiva.
It's like the guy who comes
It's
to
gaiva.
Shanis with a 20-foot of Shanis.
It's gaiva. Yeah, exactly. You're doing it for attention. You've obviously got low self-esteem, whatever it is. You need attention, some slight narcissism, but you're not doing it to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's for sure, right? So everyone's saying Krishma. So they'll also say Krishma. There's no like, look at me, I'm saying Krishma. You don't get that geschmack, right? Everyone else is going to work, and he's sitting back going, I don't work, it's Tisha B'Av. Everyone sees you. That's gaiva. That's why Chacham say by not working, that's a problem. That's Mechzik Yaira. Now, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Kasha. What about the stira, the contradiction of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel against Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? Hasa b'chavana talia milsa. With Krishma, it's totally in how much kavanah you can have. Do you understand what's going on? Are you able to concentrate? And we know that you can't concentrate. The guy just gets married, he's busy thinking about his wife. He can't concentrate. Do me a favor. So don't say Krishma. We believe you can't concentrate. But when it comes to Tisha B'Av, you know why he's not working? He hasn't got any customers. He doesn't have a job today. What a nice way to finish the Masechta, the Perek. Go outside and look how many people are doing nothing all day. There's plenty of people not working, right? So by not working, it doesn't mean, oh, wow, such a bal gaiva. Yeah. Okay. Was there a Taisa I wanted to see? Yeah, take a look at Taisa's Rav Shisha, sorry. I need my glasses. Rav Shisha. Okay, skip to says Taisus. Pishu ben Chanan, the halach Rav Sheshes, do Basra. We pass on like Rav Sheshes. He was a later one. We go with a later rabbi. And we pass on like Rav Shimon Gamliel that says you can't say Krishma. You can't act like you're righteous. We always passing like Reb Chaim except for these three cases. Okay, so says Taisus now. However, nowadays what's halacha? Since we never concentrate anyway when we say Krishma. A chassan should also read. You don't concentrate anyway. You never concentrate. So when you're a chassan, you're not going to say Krishma. Say it anyway. The Adrabah, now listen to Taisus turns it on its head. The Adrabah, pum faked, exactly the opposite to what you think. The Adrabah, nira k'yayrim le'yikra. It's gaiva not to read Krishma when you're a chassan. Why? Because what you're saying is, I normally have tremendous concentration. Now I can't concentrate, so now I'm part of Krishma. Oh, you're such a big tzaddik, you always concentrate. No one else concentrates ever, but you concentrate the whole time. And now you can't concentrate, so you're pada. So it used to be your hero to say Krishma. Tai says, no, now it's your hero not to say Krishma. Now it's your hero to say I'm pada, because I always mechaven. But you should do melacha Tisha B'Av. There you've got no issue. That's not a problem. Okay, thought it was very geschmack. Nice.
I thought it's not halacha not to do.
Says Taisus, yeah. Taisus says it's also Yaira. Taisus says no, not Yaira. You shouldn't do melacha. That's the minhag.
When did it change? Like when did we lose concentration? Do you know?
Well, Taisus, who's writing this 1,000 years ago, says in those days they didn't concentrate. So nowadays, forget about it. Nowadays you can't even. You see from the Gemorah, it's a great question, and I'm happy you asked. You see from the Gemorah that it wasn't something that they could just, say quickly, get it over and done with, concentrate. They really had to focus the mind, meditate. It was like a proper meditation. They sat down. It took them time and effort, and it was something you had to stop working to say Krishma. You had to stop. You couldn't walk. You had to stop. just to say the first pasuk, but it took a long time. We're going to see that. Didn't just like flick through it in a few seconds. It took a long time, and it was a major concentration. So when did it happen? Between the time the Gemara was written and the time of Rishonim, it was like 1,000 years. So you're talking about that 1,000 years. At some stage, they stopped being mechavan. I don't know. Tosfos is a little bit. You could say Tosfos is a chiddush. Who says we're not mechavan? We think what the words mean. You have Pirush Milim. That's all you need. Yeah, it's Tosfos is like a little bit of a chiddush. Yeah. What?
Let's go back to Tisha B'Av for a minute. In the Shulchan Aruch, I believe.
Why are you stuck in Tisha B'Av?
Because it's going to be Yom Tov. We're going to eat and drink.
Yeah. Okay.
So in Tisha B'Av in its current format,
Yeah.
right? The halacha is at least.
Anyway, Simon Bracha. Anyway, Simon Bracha. Till Chatzos you shouldn't walk.
Yeah. But is that a halacha or is that a?
Yeah. I think it's halacha. You're not allowed to walk till Chatzos.
So then,
and then after Chatzos, anyway, Simon Bracha. I think in Chutzah it's a more makel and working after Chatzos Tisha B'Av. In that Shul, no one works on Tisha B'Av. The whole country's like shut down. Everyone's in bed.
Or driving around with their kids.
Doing shopping, buying bagels. Yeah.
Well, what's 1 second? What is? What was it? 1 second. Then after until Chatzos anyway. If it's us to work, then what's the problem with you're busy being tired in Tisha B'Av.
In Avelis.
In Avelis, right? And you go and you daven Mar. You daven Mar.
Well, that's the reason why you can't work and be Torah Avelis at the same time.
Right, but
you can't do both at the same time.
Right, because you take your mind off the Avelis.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying in regards to Krishna, right? You go to Shul, Erev Tisha B'Av, right? Marav, the lights are off, the arm's open, and you're sitting there. So everyone's sitting there. And so everyone's involved in Marav. No one's really involved in Tisha B'Av.
She asked a question: how could you be misabel if you're davening Marav? Why? We're good. That's exactly.
It seems to be.
You ask a good kasha, and that's the headway, segue, whatever you call it, into the next Mishnah. Says the next Mishnah. That's exactly what the next Mishnah is going to discuss. Misha Meisai Mutelefonov. Someone's sitting there, and there's a dead body in front of him. Potem Krishma. He's exempt from saying Krishma. I think Shemesa, the Medaik Shemesa means someone in his family, his Kravim, his mace. Potem Krishma. His Einen is Potem for Krishma. Uminat Tefillah, he doesn't have to daven, he's exempt from prayers. Uminat Tefillin, he doesn't have to wear Tefillin. Umikol mitzvah amurs b'Torah, he doesn't have to do any other mitzvah.
Could have just said that without the first. You could have just.
So that's fine. So you could have said Potem kol mitzvahs. There are girsas that take out kol mitzvahs amurs b'Torah. There is no girsa. According to Rif, he takes out the girsa. We call a mitzvah amurs b'Torah. It doesn't say that.
It's possible.
It's only you put from Torah, Tefillin, and Tefillah.
But it's possible that it's not talking about nonin. It's talking about.
No, it's talking about Shulafanov. He's doing shmir or whatever. We're going to see in a second. The Mishnah is going to explain. But what's important here is the fact that why would you be part of dafka from those three, Torah, Tefillah, and Tefillin, as opposed to any other mitzvahs? What's the difference? So said the Rishonim that these three things, Torah, Tefillah, and Tefillin, all require kavana, intention. Tefillah, we said. Tefillin, Shema, we said. Tefillin, you're not allowed to be mesiach das from your tefillin. You can't remove you got to always be thinking about your tefillin. So since you always have to be thinking about your tefillin, he's got to be worried about this mace, you part from tefillin. Says the Mishnah, noisei amita. People are carrying the coffin, v'chilufeihen, and the people switch them out when it gets too heavy. Or the Rashi says they used to take turns. They used to give each other a chance to be kind of mitzvah. It's a tremendous mitzvah. Alvayas, a mace. So people were holding it, and then they moved and they switched with someone else to give everyone else a chance, right? The chilufei, and the people that switch out, those people.
I want until the time of the funeral, until the time of Levaya, right? The body is sitting there either on the floor.
So no, now we're talking about noise amitu, people carrying it when they're actually moving, when they're traveling, they're going to bury, right? So the people are carrying a potter, the people that switch them out, the potter, and the chilufei the potter. The people in front of the mitta, in front of the coffin, the guy standing in front of the coffin We're about to use them. We need them in a second. So they're potter. And the people behind the mitzvah that already carried it, we need them, but chayav, they're chayav to say Kriya Shema.
Maybe it's the same reason also that you don't wear tzitzis in the cemetery.
It's like Larash.
You're mace and you're
Why are you saying Kriya Shema?
Kriya Shema.
Very good, very good. So let's see, we'll see the Rishonim, they get into it.
Kriya Shema would be different than, the whole Indian of tzitzis, from what I understand, is that...
You want to flaunt your mitzvahs.
Right. Right, but if you say quietly Kriya Shema to yourself, you're not exactly flaunting your mitzvahs.
You're raising yourself. You're not flaunting. You're raising yourself. You make that.
Okay, so take a look in the top Rashi. In the first Rashi in the Perek. I didn't say Hadron Alachaya Kaira. Hadron Alachaya Kaira. Okay, Misha may say Potter Kriya Shema. Lefi, why is he Potter Kriya Shema? Lefi should Torah b'machshavas kvorosai. He's busy trying to make the arrangements of the burial arrangements. It's a hard kufa. It's a busy time. He's got a couple of hours to bury him. He's got to go buy a plot in Har Zeisim. It's expensive. He's trying to get hold of $50,000. It's similar to the reason why a chosen, when he gets married, is potter. Why? Because he's Torah in a mitzvah. How can he be Makayim to consummate his marriage? But this guy, he's Torah in the mitzvah of burying the dead. He's also busy, right?
1 second. Don't we say that someone who's involved in a mitzvah is potter?
But he's right now. Yeah, but right now he's not doing a mitzvah. Right now he's just sitting there next to the mace. He's not doing a mitzvah now.
He's doing shmir.
No. I don't know if that's a doraisa or what that is. But right now we're saying, Rashi's saying, he's busy thinking about, maybe there's other shemrim. He's busy thinking about how he's going to bury this guy. He's busy. He's potter from anything else. If he's not, no, it's not a mitzvah to think about it. It's a mitzvah to bury. It's not a mitzvah to think about how am I going to buy a plot? How am I going to fund this thing? Who should the rabbi be? He's busy making arrangements. He's got to call the rabbi. He's got to call the burial thing. He's busy. He's got 1,000 things to take care of. He's got to tell people about it. If he starts saying Kriya Shema and davening and tefillin, he's not going to bury this guy, right? That's how Rashi understands it. He's tired. He's busy making preparations. That patters him. Take a look at Taisus, the second Taisus. Potem Kriya Shema, Yerushalmi Mufarish Taima. Why is he Potem Kriya Shema? Omer of Bun. Ksiv leman tizkar. Yom Tzeis Chomer Susayim Kol Yemei Chayecha. Kol Yemei Chayecha is Yomim Shat Oisik B'Chayim. The days you're dealing with living people, you have to do mitzvahs. V'lo Yomim Shat Oisik B'Meisim. The days where you're dealing with dead people, you're potter for mitzvahs. A drosh in the Yerushalmi. Some say it's, I think the Mukha Yeshiv, it says, it's an asmachta. It doesn't mean it's a drosh and mamish. It's not with the raisa you're potter from all mitzvahs. But it means, it's an asmachta. Learn from here that you're potter. There's another Yerushalmi that says the reason why you're potter is not like Rashi says because you're Torah. It's because Kvayda Shal Mace. There's someone dead in front of you. This is kind of what you were saying. There's a mace here. And you're busy, running a business, putting on tefillin, davening, you're ignoring him. Even if you sit there quietly, just sit there, respect for the dead. Don't get busy with your things. Zilzal mace, whatever it is.
With your things is not davening, is not your things.
It is. As far as the mace goes, why you? It's quite the mace that you don't do anything else. You say tefillin for him. I don't know what, but not sit there. It's a zilzal. If someone sees you with your tefillin in the corner davening, they'll think that you don't care about this guy. You've ignored him. You've taken your attention away from him, and you're busy now saying davening, saying Shema. That's what anyone else would think.
No, I don't think.
Tosfos also has the girsa, by the way. You would take out kol mitzvahs.
Does takes out kol mitzvahs?
Yeah, look at the last part of that Tosfos. Pater mikriya shema min atfilu min atfilin.
Right. He doesn't say ubekol misamur b'Torah. Right. Right. Very good. It seems like that was the main girsa. This is a main column, and we have that girsa in other Mishnayos. It doesn't say ubekol misamur b'Torah.
It would seem to me maybe that we're talking about different things. One is referring to no name, and one is referring to just someone who's handling. If you know what I mean. So, one,
No, we're talking. We're very clear here. We're talking about Einan. The guy's. Well, we'll see. We'll get there.
it's not that clear.
We'll see. But in Tachlis Rashi, who holds that the problem is Tidus and Machshava, right? What does Rashi say? Rashi says the problem is his Machshava. He's tired of his Machshava. He's too busy to do other things. That's why he's Potter. You could be Gairis, become Mitzvah Mitzvah because he's Isaac of Mitzvah. He's Potter in the Mitzvah. Third of the Mitzvah will party from any other Mitzvah. Just being tired will party you. But according to Taisus, who's bringing the Yerushalmi, there's like a drasha from the Yerushalmi, Kol Yemei Chayecha, that you're part from other things, right? So that could be that's only Dafka Tefillin and Torah, Tefillin and Kriya Shema. The psukim in the man. What does the pasuk say? Leman tizka yentzes kol me'esan kol mechayecha. That's a pasuk in Tefillin. So that's why you put it Dafka by Tefillin, I guess. Exeris Kosev doesn't have to be Kol Mitzvah B'Torah. Why would you put it from everything else? The drasha is a drasha in the parshas of Tefillin. Okay, so let's finish the Mishnah. It's getting late. Says the Mishnah. Oh, I'd like to finish it. We still don't have a minion here. Ve'elu p'tur min tefillah. They're both potter from tefillah.
The front and the back.
The guys in the front and the guys in the back. So what's the difference between tefillah and Kriya Shema? So take a look in Rashi again. Let's go back to Rashi, the middle of Rashi. Ve'elu p'tur min tefillah. Why? Rashi says the lav the raisa. Tefillah is not the raisa. Kriya Shema is the raisa. Right? That's why the guy's behind the chayev. Is Kriya Shema is the raisa? It's biblical. Say Kriya Shema. But says Rashi, but tefillah, which is only the Rabbanon, they're all going to be patur. For Rabbi Seinu Pirshu, lefi sheyesh lehem oid shohos, and Chazal says, his Rebbeim said, you know why? Why this guy's chayiv in tefillah? Why he's potter in tefillah rather? Why is he potter? Lefi sheyesh lehem oid shohos. He's got more time. He can daven later. You know, it's Kriya Shema, you've only got till 3 hours. Tefillah, you've got till 4 hours. So daven later. Why are you potter? Do the kvura and bury later.
You could still do Kriya Shema later though. 3 hours of work, not such a huge difference. You could say the same thing, really.
So Rashi has a better kasha, right? It's big daichak.
Okay.
V'li nirish ein ze loshem p'tor. Here he says potter min tefillah, right? Potter min tefillah means he doesn't have to pray. You potter. It doesn't mean you don't have to pray now. It doesn't say yesh lachkais. Wait to pray. Go. Wait till you finish. Yachke ad yishtayim hamitzvah. It says you potter min tefillah. Don't tell me you have to daven afterwards. He only went there because he wants to put to daven, right? Cover us a mace. They bury him, right? Cover us a mace for chozru. And then they come back from the basic verse. In Yechayim lahaschil v'ligmar ad shelo yagia l'shur yaschilu. If you could start Kriya Shema and finish Kriya Shema before they get into the rows, again, they used to be Menachem, they left the basic verse and they did 2 rows. If you could say Kriya Shema before start and finish the whole Kriya Shema before the whole row thing happens, you should do it, right? Vimlav lo yaschel. If you can't, then don't do it.
It's not really conducive to saying Shema properly.
Exactly. Vimlav, if you can't say it, don't start. If you can't finish, don't even start. Hi. Now, is everyone in the rows potter? Hi. Then Bashura. So it turns out the rows, it wasn't one row. A lot of time there was, front seat, back seat, the stalls. So I'm in Bashura Pnimis Pturim. If you're in the inside, you got prime location, you're potter for Kriya Shema. If you're standing in the back, chayavim, yechayev. Now I'm not sure if you're supposed to read this the next part. There's brackets here. Noshim v'avodim v'ktanim p'turim Kriya Shema tefillin. Women and children v'avodim are potter from Kriya Shema. They don't have to say Kriya Shema. They don't have to wear tefillin. V'chayavim b'tefillah b'mezuzah b'bechas hamazon. So anything that's a mitzvah eseshash ban groma, they're potter. But the chayev in davening and praying and mezuzah, bichas hamazon, and benching. So, okay, we'll end over here. It's getting very late. Have a wonderful day.
It says that these were misplaced, those words.
Oh, yeah?
They go to the next